First of all, obviously, World Cup, England's performance, the dust settled a bit. Obviously, everyone was pretty impressed. You personally, were you more impressed with Southgate's tactics and team selection, or the actual performance on the day? Kind of what was better for you?
Well, he made that big decision of Henderson, didn't he, in midfield? You could have probably gone with a 4-2-3-1. We were a little bit more attack-minded, but he knew what Henderson brings to the team. It's always a bonus when a player like that pops up with a goal as well. So he'd be delighted that he made that decision. And I think I could see similar that he might go the same way. I mean, I know there's been lots of talk he might go to three at the back, but I like the way they've been playing. I think it was a good performance all round. We know we've got quality players. Yeah. It's just getting that right balance for the team's point of view. And I'm sure he will be a little bit worried about Dembele, Mbappe, Griezmann. You know, Giroud's on fire as well. He's doing really well. Obviously, his last World Cup, he was go out on a bang. So he's going to be a little bit worried about those guys. But we've got some great players as well going forward. Let's not forget, you know, Saka's scoring goals. Foden's was so dangerous. We know about Harry Kane, very important in getting a goal. And look at our bench. We can bring people like Rashford on and Grealish and Maddison. We've not even seen Maddison yet. So, I think that's the bonus point for Gareth's point of view, is that, you know, he's got really good players who can change the game with substitutions the last 20 minutes.
It's true. I think Jude Bellingham was getting so many plaudits, and rightfully so, after that performance. 19-year-old dominating an experienced team like Senegal in the middle. How high is his ceiling as a 19-year-old?
Well, it's amazing, really. I mean, you know, I remember when I first made it, I was about 18, getting into the first team, and you're so nervous. But look at the stages he's played on already at 19. I mean, it's amazing. Champions League football on a regular basis, you know, playing for his country, playing in the World Cup finals. It just doesn't. Sometimes it just don't faze you as a player. And I think that's what's happened. He's playing with no fear. We all know he's a very good player, but will he freeze on the big occasion? And so far, he's been excellent. He's been one of our best players so far. So let's hope he can continue. Be a bit more of a test against France. We know that, but he's done it before for Dortmund in big games. So let's hope he can do it again for England. And you know, at the moment, I'm sure his agent and the clubs itself, pushing Dortmund, they'll be rubbing their hands together, because every time he plays, I think his price goes up by 10 or 20 million. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward in his transfer. He will come back to Premier League one day, but where he goes and how much sort of money he's going to go for, it's going to be really interesting to see that.
That's what I was wondering, because obviously playing alongside someone like Jordan Henderson, who's got all that experience, must kind of help him out when it's a match like this on a big stage.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got the experience. You can see him barking around the pitch, you know. And you know, I liked it when he set his goal up and he mentioned it on Twitter or something like that, saying that Jordan's a really big player in our midfield, and you know, he looks up to him because he's had a good career, and obviously captain for Liverpool and won big trophies for Liverpool. So Jordan. That's why probably Gareth went with Jordan Henderson, because he's got all the experience and his energy, high energy, and he gets players at it. So I could see him probably going that way again against France at the weekend.
Yeah, you wouldn't see Mason Mount coming back in, I think.
Not really, no. I don't think.
Really worked for
him, I don't think he was great in the first couple of games. I'm being honest with you. I don't like to pick on people and single people out, because USA, we had a lot of poor performances. The first game, obviously, good result. Even the Wales game at times, it was a little bit. First half was a little bit slow, but second half, obviously, we got the goals, and that settled us down a little bit. But you know, no one likes to lose their place. But obviously, Gareth's got so many good players to pick from that someone's going to miss out. And I think it could be Mason Mount again. I think Jordan Henderson will stay in the side with his experience and what he does for that midfield.
So the first half an hour against Senegal, England didn't look very fluid, did they? To be honest, probably second best for that period. But once they calmed down, it seemed like Henderson and Harry Maguire and John Stones sort of got themselves together. There was no looking back, really, was there, after the first goal?
I mean, you're always going to get spells in games where you're up against it. You're not, you know, things are not going too well. But then it's all about sticking together and not conceding at those vital stages. So credit to them, really, they didn't concede at that time. But again, they've got to start games a little bit quicker, because we know France are going to have a lot more quality going forward. No disrespect to Senegal, but they're going to have a lot more quality in the final third, which could really hurt England if they start slowly. So, yeah, I'm sure Gareth will be looking back at that first 15, 20, half an hour and saying, look, we need to do a little bit better in bigger games and manage games better. And because they will get opportunities, there's no doubt that France will give you opportunities. I think they look quite weak on the wings. If I'm being honest, the fullback areas for France. So I'm sure whoever it's going to be, whether it's Foden, Rashford, Saka, I'm sure they can really exploit the fullback areas and put some good, dangerous balls in for Harry Kane, hopefully.
Yeah, because that's 3 clean sheets in a row now for England. And you said Senegal had a couple of chances. Jordan Pickford made a couple of good saves. Obviously, he's going to be a busier man against France, you'd expect. You wouldn't see Southgate changing anything at the back or switching to some kind of 5 at the back, changing up?
No, well, that's the big question, whether Gareth feels that, their front 4 are going to be so dangerous that he might go with a 3 at the back. Obviously, we know about Mbappe's pace. We know about his finishing power. Kyle Walker's very experienced. So I really hope he goes for a 4, if I'm being honest. I know lots of people said, well, it's better with a 3 and we can get the wing backs forward. But I think it's worked pretty well so far. But during the game, maybe you have to change it at times. If Mbappe's getting a lot of joy, or Griezmann, or whoever it's going to be, you have to have game management and change it during the game. But you've done that you have to do that at club football as well. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But I don't like tinkering with back 4s. You can change the system and add someone else in there, but if it's working as a back 4, I'm coming from an Arsenal connection where I played with the famous back 5, I call them, for many, many years. And if they were fit, they're playing. Simple as that. So I think Maguire's done nothing wrong. I think he's been excellent at the back. I think it looks like they've got a decent partnership, him and Stones. Shaw's done well at left back. And whoever plays right back, whether it's Trippier or Kyle Walker, they're going to, with their experience as well, they know they put a shift in and do their job. So I've got no problem with Gareth sticking with that back 4 who he's got at the moment. And obviously Jordan Pickford in goal. Yeah, you can't change a goalkeeper halfway through the tournament. No, so I'm expecting Jordan to stay in goal for England.
Kyle Walker, obviously, his pace is going to be crucial. He's just back from injury, though. Do you think he's fully fit and up to the task of taking on them?
That's what we don't know. We're guessing at the moment. But obviously, all the physios and the people behind the scenes, because these days they've got so many stats and they know everything about everybody's heart, bodies, and how they recover after games and so on, so on. So we don't know that at the moment. Whether there's been any niggles in training or people are just struggling a little bit with the games, then obviously Gareth's got to make that big decision. But if Kyle Walker's fit, he's got to play with. He's definitely got to play with his pace, and he can fit into a 3 if you want him to, as well. Which probably you can put Trippier or even Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's a bit more attack-minded on that right-hand side. But I think he might go with 4 again and put Jordan Henderson in that midfield area. Because Griezmann will drop off deep and Declan Rice is going to have to play a part during this game, because he can get into them little pockets, and that's where Declan will come into it to try and block that off. So he's going to be a very important player, and he's done quite well so far during the tournament. So he could be vital on the weekend.
True. Also, you'd imagine Bukayo Saka, obviously, he's had an incredible tournament so far. 3 goals for him. He's going to have to be tracking back and helping out, doing a bit more defensive work this time against France. But for the tournament as a whole, for Saka, it's just been incredible, would you say? How do you think he's feeling personally?
Yeah, it's great to see, isn't it? I mean, after what happened in the Euros, and got stick, and after missing a penalty, he's a real strong character. I've spoken to him a few times. I've been lucky to go on tour with him and have a chat with the guys. And he's a real grounded young man. So as long as he keeps improving, I just hope he signs up for Arsenal very quickly, because that's what I'm more worried about. I'll be honest. But we need to get him time down Martinelli and Saliba at Arsenal, and hopefully that'll happen. But yeah, I think he's been brilliant. He's a little bit like Bellingham. He don't let things phase him. He goes into games, does his best. He's got that work ethic as well. So he will get back and track back if he has to. And I'm sure Gareth will be having, if he does start against France, he'll be having a few words with him saying, look, just be wary. You might have to play 2v1 at times. And, we all know how Mbappe, how good he is. So we have to keep a good eye on him. And he's played left back before. He's been a big defender before, so he's a very versatile player. So that might be the case where he does a little bit more defensive work, but he's capable of doing that. That's not a problem for him.
Now that we're into kind of the latter stages of the tournament, you mentioned strength and depth in terms of the whole squad is going to be crucial. England have arguably got probably one of the most sort of potent options off the bench. But if we're going to chase the game, if we're, say, a goal behind, 20 minutes to go, do you see Southgate chucking on? Well, who would you turn to in terms of?
Well, you saw it in the first game when they all come on, didn't they? I mean, they changed the game completely. I know it's a totally different game around to France, but there's certainly real good options. Rashford's in great form. There's an argument they say, well, he should be starting with what he did against Wales. You know, Gareth, he's in a great position, Gareth, really. I mean, as much as it's very difficult to pick that 11, but he's got so many top players, and he knows that if they don't start, Rashford and people like that, they can have a real impact off the bench, which could be so important, especially as you get to latter stages in the tournament where maybe defenders are getting a little bit more fatigued because you're playing quite a few games. Then they're so dangerous to have off the bench with pace and running at players and Foden's pace, and you know, we actually Maddison, he could still play a part in that midfield area as well. So I think Gareth is sport for choice, really. You know, I'm being honest. I think the back four, he will try and keep a settled defence. He knows he's played in defence before himself, and he knows it's quite important you get a good understanding with your teammates alongside you. But I think you can tinker with the front line, especially. And that's what I think he'll do. If you're chasing a goal or you need to get back into the game, he's got plenty of firepower to turn it around for England. So that's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that and what lineup he starts with.
It'll be interesting. It's funny you should mention Marcus Rashford there. One ex-England manager suggested that
Southgate... Yeah, I saw that. It's Ben, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ben, yeah. I was going to see if you saw who it was. Yeah, so he reckons dropping Saka for Rashford just purely because of his pace is a good idea against France, maybe because Varane's obviously getting on a bit. Maybe pace is their vulnerability. You think that's a good idea, or do you stick?
He's got a bit of pace as well, Saka. He can, you know, he ain't no snow coach, as they say. So it's all about opinions at the end of the day. But the most important opinion for anybody is Gareth Southgate to make sure he picks the right spot for whoever it's going to be. I'm sure he will look at the right areas for France, though, because I think they've been a little bit unsettled there, full back areas, and I think they might be able to get that. You know, especially down the right and left-hand side. I think Foden could be vital in this game as well, if he can really play well and get at the full-back. But whoever he picks, I can see his argument, obviously, he's been with Rashford's pace, and he scored goals as well so far in this tournament. But Saka's done nothing wrong as well. So that is, for me, it's a 50-50 call for Gareth, and Gareth's got to get it right. But if he doesn't get it, well, don't get me wrong, he's still got whoever starts the game, I'm sure Saka or Rashford coming off the bench will make an impact for England as well.
I think if you see the relationship Saka and Harry Kane are starting to build there, him obviously coming in from the right wing, linking up with Harry Kane. Harry Kane's got a goal now. How important?
Yeah, that was very important, I thought, for Harry, because he's done a really good job. Obviously, assists. You know, Harry's always going to be part of build-up play. He's so good at that, bringing players. He's such a good footballer that he can drop off. We've seen him do it at Spurs, and he's obviously back. Really, he's there to score goals for us. As I said before, if you said to me, and I didn't watch the game, we beat around 6-2, I would say, how many did Harry Kane get? Did he get a hat-trick? But he didn't score a goal that day. So that's a positive, really, because you need other players to score goals as well, not just rely on one person. I think he needed that. Yeah, I think he needed that goal, though. I think he's delighted when he got it, and let's hope he can go on a little run now. Get a couple against France would be great. And then suddenly we'd be dreaming of maybe that World Cup final, which would be amazing. I know there's still a long way to go, but we still got to have hopes. And, you know, hopefully they can all turn up on the weekend and put their best shot, well, give it a go and have a real go. And they're capable of beating France, there's no doubt about that.
This is it. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but should we beat France, then we'll be looking at presumably Spain or Portugal in the
Yeah, Spain will look good. I mean, a young side, I think they're going to improve. I think 4 years' time, they're going to be a real force, Spain, because, you know, we see their little midfielders in there as well. And,
Pedri.
But again, I mean, I don't think you can fear anybody. You just got to go out and say, look, this is I know it's an old cliche. every single game's a World Cup final now. And if you can play it like a World Cup final, the quarters, semis, then suddenly you're in the World Cup final, then you might have a chance. But obviously, Brazil, the ones who stand out at the moment, they've got such a good array of players. Cruised through last night, no problem. So that could be possibly, that'd be an unbelievable game. England-Brazil final, which would be amazing.
That'd be the final that everyone really would.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the final everybody wants. But whether we can get it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, remains to be seen. Okay, what was going to ask? Oh, yeah, okay. So you'd imagine Olivier Giroud will be starting against England. Aerial battle-wise, do you think Maguire and Stones will be able to keep him under wraps, or is he?
I think that suits both Maguire and Stones. If I'm being honest. I mean, Stones has got a bit more pace than Maguire, but I think Maguire is good in the air. And Giroud's not going to run in behind you with his pace, so I think that could be perfect. You've got to be more careful probably from the late runners. I mean, the midfield runners where they're one past Giroud sometimes. And you've got to be aware, and that's where you need a lot of communications by fullbacks and centre halves. That's going to be very important. But Giroud's had a great tournament. This is his last one, obviously. Yeah, he's got the record for France. He'd be absolutely delighted with that. But I think Harry Maguire's done well so far, and two big guys together. I think Harry would be pretty happy. Right? He don't want someone who's really pacey alongside him and is going to run in behind. That's going to in turns England really, and Giroud's not going to do that. So as I said before, you got to be wary of Dembele on wide areas and Mbappe running in out from in to get past Giroud, and that's where again you say you need good communications between your fullbacks and your centre halves.
Yeah, Antoine Griezmann as well has looked quite lively.
Yeah, Griezmann looks lively. Yeah, that's as I say, he drops off into really good areas, and it sometimes is really difficult to pick up. But that's where Declan Rice, with his defensive, he's plays centre back. He knows how to defend. He's got to be very, very much eyes in the back of his head, sort of thing, to say, right, I know exactly where he is, and I know where to block. We had a player in Arsenal, Gilberto Silva, was very good at that, where he just didn't let balls go through the lines and. Declan's got to be really, be aware of everything around him at the weekend, definitely.
Speaking of Gilberto Silva there, I actually saw him tipping Arsenal to sign Jude Bellingham, which I would obviously be thrilled about. But do you think that's realistic? He's got a price tag.
Well, I think we definitely need another midfielder, but whether they're going to be spending that sort of money, I don't know what he goes for now. I think his price has gone up every game so far, what I've seen. I don't know, be looking at 100 plus now, and with add-ons, I should imagine. But certainly, he's a fantastic talent. He really is. And whoever gets him, I think Liverpool will be certainly in the market, their midfield. And Man City will certainly be, if a young player's available. Everybody's getting that little bit older in that midfield, De Bruyne and people like that. So I'm sure there'll be loads and loads of offers. But I hope he does come back to the Premier League, because whether they'll look at abroad as well. I mean, I know he's playing in Germany at the moment, but whether he looks, can Real Madrid or someone like that come in and try and... But I hope he does come back. Because we want to see the best players in the Premier League.
Yeah. And you grew up here, didn't
you? Sorry?
You grew up in the UK, didn't you? So
yeah, of course. He was at Birmingham, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
I can see why they retired his shirt now, because they knew how good he's going to be, and he's not let anybody. He's not let anybody down so far.
No, 100%. So obviously, Arsenal-wise, top of the league, 5 points clear. I think it's still a couple of weeks till, well, at least 3 weeks till the next fixture.
Yeah, West Ham home.
So now, the Gabriel Jesus news, bad news, obviously, for Arsenal. But you've got Eddie Nketiah there. Do you think he can carry the kind of mantle?
I really like Eddie. I think he does. He's really good to bring off the bench at times, but he's not a Jesus, is he? That's the problem you're going to have. I know he hasn't scored for a while for Arsenal, but he brings so much to the team. His work rate, he links up people. He never gives up. He presses people where it's easier for the midfield to go and press as well behind him. Yeah. So,
Eddie, good out on the wing, hasn't he? He hasn't really had a chance through the middle, an extended chance. He's been
but there's a couple of. I'm sure Eddie will be looking at. I know he went to see the owners last week or just recently, and he'd be mentioning that now to say, look, we might need to bolster the second forward. The problem you have is January is who's available. That's the big problem you have. I know Thuram, who's the French youngster, Mönchengladbach, his contract's more or less up at the end of the year. So maybe you can tempt people like that for money and try and get someone in like him. I've always said Ivan Toney. I'd try and get him if I could, but I don't think you're going to get him in this window. But I would splash the cash for him. I think he's very similar to. It reminds me a little bit of Wrighty back in the day. You know what I mean? The way he plays and you know he scores goals and so
in the air as well. Good jump.
Yes, but they will definitely look at that situation. It's such a shame because Jesus was playing, as I said before, he's not banging the goals in, but he was creating so many chances for other players. And, I thought it was only 3 weeks, but now someone said 3 months. I'm thinking, well, yeah, they might have to look at that position. Obviously, midfield as well, where they tried to get Tillemans, didn't they, during the window, but it didn't happen. But I'm sure, I think they do be worried a little bit. Hopefully, Partey can stay fit because he's been a really important player for Arsenal this season. Because he just, just what his movement, he's mobile in that midfield area, keeps everything efficient. Jack has obviously got the licence to go forward a little bit more now, and he's been dangerous and much more advanced. So I'll wait for Partey. If he gets injured, then we need backup in that area for me.
Fortunately, he's made it through the World Cup, okay? So
he's made it through the World Cup. So again, I'm sure Mikel Arteta's delighted when they'll get knocked out. It's just been a bit greedy, really. You want your players to come home and rest up and get ready for that push because there's still a long way to go in the Premier League. 24 games left, so there's a lot of games going to come thick and fast. So you don't want your players to get overstrenuous in the World Cup if you can help it.
It's been good to see Gabriel Martinelli getting some minutes for Brazil. Do you think Arteta sees him as an option up front?
Yeah, that's another option because Smith Rowe's obviously travelled with the guys to Dubai.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he's doing with his groin injury, and I know he had surgery, and he must be back training now or getting fit again. So that's another option. He can come in on that left-hand side. Obviously, he had that period where he was playing really well off that left, and then his injury really set him back a little bit. But Martinelli, with his energy and work rate, and he's got quick feet like Jesus. Yeah. That could be an option as well. But he's playing well on that left-hand side as well. But sometimes you don't want to move them out of position if they're playing so well. But that's options where, good options to have for Mikel Arteta when they do to see what they're going to do when they're all fit and all ready to go again.
How about an emergency 6-month loan move for Cristiano Ronaldo, as suggested by Piers Morgan himself?
Yeah, I wasn't for it, if I'm being honest. This is when Jesus was fit because I thought, well, he's not. He don't want to be sitting on the bench again. But does he work hard enough? I know he scores the goals. I can see people's point of views on that. But what Jesus does so well is how his defenders will render do that. I don't know. I mean, you might need that bit more energy up front. If I'm being honest, we know he's a top player and a goal scoring record. We're not going to say suddenly, he's not a good player anymore. He still is a very good player. But whether it's fit into Arsenal's system, the way they play, high energy, pressing, then I'm not too sure that will. So I'd be amazed if that happened. But if it did happen, then you just got to get behind the team and get behind Ronaldo to score you the goals for Jesus to get fit again.
It would be one extreme to the other, wouldn't it? Jesus.
Yeah, he's high energy Arsenal play, didn't they? I look at it now and I like the way they start games. They're on the front foot and they're not, whether Ronaldo can do that from the front the whole game, I'm not too sure.
Might be the type of option to bring him off the bench when you need a goal, but is he going to be happy to do that?
Yeah, but does he want to sit on the bench? That was the problem in Man United. He didn't want to sit on the bench every week.
He's not going to want to, is he? So
I'm not too sure that'll work.
Can't see that happening either, but just thought I'd ask you, get your view on it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. And look, I'm sure they'll be looking at every option, Edu and Mikel, to say what's the best option for the team. That's the most important thing. Don't upset the team, and obviously the quality you're going to try and bring in.
Yeah, I saw a stat that's had tallied up all the minutes that Arsenal players have played at the World Cup, Liverpool players, Man City, Man United, etc. Man City players have played almost 3 times as many minutes as Arsenal, I think, at that point that I saw that. It might have changed now. But how much minutes do you think that could have? Like, Kevin De Bruyne didn't really look particularly interested at all, did he, for Belgium?
No, well, I'm sure Guardiola's delighted he's out. I mean, De Bruyne, as I said before, he's such a big player for Man City. But I think there's a long way to go. Obviously, it's ideal for if you don't play as many minutes. If I'm being honest, I mean, I know the team are going out to Dubai to play a couple of friendlies now. We've got the game against Juventus at the Emirates, but it's like a mini pre-season now for players who didn't go. I don't know what they do. People like De Bruyne, what he does now, does he have a little rest, or I'm not too sure what the sort of when you get knocked out, what sort of time he'll have off after the World Cup. I'm not too sure, but it does come around thick and fast again. Look, it's 18th is the final, and then we're playing on the 26th, so it's not ideal really. But it's a weird season for everybody, isn't it? I mean, who thought we were going to be in the Winter World Cup?
Oh, exactly.
If you said that 10 years ago, you would have said you're mad. Don't chance. So, it's one of them games you just got to embrace what it is and get on with it, sort of thing, But it does help when your players are not playing as regular and they're ticking over still, but they're not over strenuous. And, there's a long way to go in this Premier League, though. I mean, they've still got to play City twice. Newcastle are flying, they've still got to play them twice. So I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. But if you said to me Arsenal will be top of the league going into the first day of the World Cup, I would have said, you're mad, no chance. So I'm so happy that they're 5 points clear, but there's still a long way to go. I'm not going to get too carried away at the moment.
No, same here. But if you look at I was having a look at the fixtures, Man City's fixture list looks pretty terrible in terms of congestion-wise throughout January and February, because they're playing Chelsea twice in about 3 days, and they've got away. Yeah. Arsenal out of the Carabao Cup, that's probably going to help us. We've got an away draw to Oxford United, wasn't it, in the FA Cup? So
in the FA Cup,
send out, probably rest a few players for that.
You rest a few players. But City have got a big squad though.
Yeah.
You know how many players they've got, and every single player they bring in is quality. Don't get me wrong, they're not as probably good as the 11 he picks every week, but they're not too far off them, if you know what I mean. So whatever City side they put out, it's going to be a lot of quality. And I think, whether anybody else can get into the title race, I don't know. Liverpool coming up a little bit now. They're sorted out a little bit and starting to win games of football. But, let's hope it's exciting. And all I say, when I was in title races, as soon as you get to probably 6 or 7, 8 games left, and you're in a title race, then that's when it really, that's when it gets a little bit more nerve-wracking. And you've got to be that little bit more, careful what you do on match days, and don't make sure you don't make a mistake and lose the game and whatever. So I think that's when it starts getting a squeaky bum time, as they say. And every game is so important, every point is so important. And I don't know when the rearranged game is for Man City game. When is that going to be?
Middle of February, I think.
Oh, is it middle of February?
Yeah. So I looked.
So they're going to be crucial. They're going to be crucial games as well. City, two games of City, because if you can somehow get a win, and they was unlucky last season. I thought they played really well. They lost the game, but they should have deserved to win that game at the Emirates. That's when you saw the crowd kept clapping the lads at the end, saying, "Look, you give everything now, and you was unlucky not to win that." So let's hope they can perform like that and turn the result around this time around.
Yeah, I hope so. William Saliba, obviously, he's had a great season for Arsenal, but he hasn't really been involved for France so far. Have you been surprised by that, or do you think that's just...
Yeah, I have. I mean, I was surprised when Gabriel didn't get in the squad for Brazil, because I think, as I said before, the partnerships are very, very important. That you form a good partnership. Saliba and Gabriel have been brilliant for Arsenal at the back, really have. Again, they're one of the first on the team sheets now, because they've got a good partnership and you've got to be solid. So I'm a little bit surprised, but it just shows you their depth of squad they've got, France, by leaving him out. I mean, I know he's a youngster, and Varane probably getting a little bit old. Maybe it's his last World Cup, who knows? But yeah, I'm surprised, because Saliba's been excellent for Arsenal, but maybe a little bit like Gareth Southgate, the French manager. He's trusting players he knows does the job week in, week out for him, and Deschamps has gone with probably the experience really at the back.
Yeah, it's Konate alongside him, isn't it? Liverpool.
Konate, yeah.
He hasn't really played a lot for Liverpool, but fair enough. I think it's just good experience for Saliba to be there, whether he's playing or not. Obviously, the next World Cup.
Again, he's another player we need to sign up, because he looked like he was on his way. He wasn't going to come back to Arsenal, but suddenly he came back pre-season, got his opportunity, and to be fair, Mikel Arteta, he's kept him in the side, and he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant. I love his song as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Good one to sing, isn't it? Right.
Yeah. Tequila, yeah.
It's stuck in your head. In terms of other transfer rumours that have been kind of floating around in the press and stuff, Shakhtar Donetsk winger Mikhailo Mudrak. Have you heard much about him? Have you seen much
Yeah,
about him?
not really. If I'm being honest, I've not really seen a lot of him. But I knew Edu was looking at a winger because I spoke to him pre-season, and he wanted that winger who can go past someone, and that sort of winger, because he's got all good wingers that can come inside and play off in that midfield area. But he hasn't got one like a Mark Overmars back in the day who can go past someone or. So yeah, it'd be interesting signing. Whoever they're looking at, they're looking at it closely. Edu knows his stuff, Edu, because he's been in dressing rooms where he knows what you need for a team's point of view. You're going to try and challenge for trophies. So let's hope he's another youngster. At the moment, we've got a very good young squad who's only going to improve. So that's why we need to sign them all up on long-term contracts, and then hopefully we can really develop as a team and start winning trophies again on a regular basis.
This will be good. This will be good. Also, obviously, you've got Reece Nelson there as more strong squad depth. Following Balogun's out on loan, isn't he? I think they can recall him.
He's in France, isn't
he? Yeah, that's right. Might be not a bad option to get him back.
Yeah, that's another option. I'm sure Mikel will be sitting around the table with Edu saying, right, what's our option? What you've met the owner. What have we got to spend? Who's available? And they'll weigh it all up, every single situation, and see what's best for the club and the team itself. So that's another option, Balogun. So it's been interesting to see what he does, but certainly needs someone really to come in for a short period, or you buy someone and it's going to be a long term. And you always need a couple of good strikers. My teams I played in, we had 4 top quality strikers: Carnu, Wiltord, Henri, Bergkamp. So you do need that in depth a little bit. So if he does go out and buy a striker, then that could be long term as well for Arsenal.
Did you see? I don't know if you caught the Brazil-Cameroon game when Martinelli was playing. He played the kind of made a lot of changes, didn't he, the manager? And then he had Martinelli out on the wing, and he had Fred and Rodrigo in the middle. And I don't know if you noticed, a lot of people on Twitter seem to pick up on it, that they weren't passing the ball to Martinelli at all. Every time they got it, they'd just look out for the other wing and spread it out there. So
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed by that. I've never come across that. I mean, I've never played in a game myself thinking I ain't going to pass it today. That's a really strange one. I mean, it's interesting to see what happens, but I'm sure that wouldn't happen. If Martinelli was in a good position and he's got a chance of scoring a goal, I'm sure that would pass to him. I'd be amazed if they didn't.
I just was wondering whether it's to do with...
But I know, I suppose people on Twitter are going to start stuff off like that. But yeah, I'd love to know the ins and outs of that. But I'd be amazed if that's true, if that happens. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but if that's totally wrong. I'm sure the manager must pick up on that and say, well, wait a minute, he was on. Why didn't you pass to him? I wonder what Martinelli thought about it as well. I wonder what he thought about it.
You'd imagine that there's probably quite a lot of big egos in that Brazil squad, but see, last night showed they've probably got a good squad harmony going on, or whether they're just all the dancing is to try and cover up something that's maybe happening there. I don't know. But...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're enjoying it. It looks like everybody's enjoying themselves at the moment. I mean, all the fans are very happy. When I was out there, I saw loads of Brazilian fans, and all pretty lively. They all think they're going to win it this year. I think they're probably, which they are the favourites. Them and Argentina brought so many fans, it's frightening. I mean, Argentina, they fill a stadium up with just their fans. So
I read that
the South Americans, so you know what they're like, the South Americans. They come for a party, a little bit like the Africans. They've been great as well, haven't they? They've been singing and dancing and it ain't stopped. Yeah. So that's what they do. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, they haven't won the World Cup yet. And suddenly they won't be dancing if they get knocked out in the quarters or semi-final. But they're enjoying it at the moment, and maybe they're trying to show that we have got good spirit and we want to have a connection with the fans with the dancing. I don't know. I don't think we'll be doing it in the last 16 game or quarterfinals somehow.
Robot dance, I was about as
yeah.
But, obviously, the sad news about Raheem Sterling's house getting burgled and him having to fly home from the squad for that. Do you think that would have any kind of psychological impact on the other players, worrying about the security of their house back home, or? It's happened quite often, isn't it? I mean, that's a bit of a worry, if I'm being honest. But again, with the sort of amount, the wages they earn now, they just have to put a bit more security. Simple as that, isn't it? I mean, you pay for someone to be there all the time. I don't know.
the players can afford it now. They're not there on a regular basis. But yeah, it's a bit scary for Raheem. Obviously, we see it happen to Aubameyang as well, didn't we? And it must be so scary for your family.
Yeah, he was there.
You've got children, children and all that. It could scar children for the rest of their lives. Couldn't come in with that sort of. So it's not ideal. But if I was a player now, you'd probably just have to up your security. All the stuff you can to prevent it. Yeah. I'm sure there's people out there that can give them advice what to do to make sure their homes are very secure. And that's what I will be doing. I should imagine but they're easy targets. They seem to pick players when they're away from home or on away games even. Yeah. They know they might not be there, and so it's a bit scary for Raheem. And I hope his family are all okay, and he can sort that security out for himself.
Yeah. It's a cowardly crime, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Also, obviously, Ben White's left the squad. He's not returning. Hopefully that's nothing to worry about unduly. But hopefully, from an Arsenal perspective, he's just ready to play again once the Premier League starts. I presume you don't know anything.
I don't know really the ins and outs of that, but obviously he's left the squad. But all I can say is when he put that Arsenal shirt on, he's been brilliant at right back. I mean, he's been so consistent. Obviously, it's not his favourable position, but that just shows you that he's done a job. He's a good professional to do what he's done. He's filled in for certain players who've been injured. He's done a wonderful job. So I just hope he's okay. And he'll be putting that Arsenal shirt on against West Ham in Boxing Day and be back to where he was before we went to the World Cup. So let's hope he's all okay and ready to go.